So the White House, short time ago, there's been some reporting that they are planning a reset as election reform looks like it's the most recent part of the agenda to flop. And Politico summed up the situation this way today. Quote, Democrats are back in a familiar spot this week, pushing hard for legislation they know will fail. They're grappling openly with what to tell voters when they come up short. Joe Concha is standing by. But first, Michigan Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. She's co-chair of the House Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you for being here. In terms of this reset that is being reported, do you think that the White House needs a new strategy? Is that the problem?
Well, you know, when I hear people talk about we need a reset, we haven't gotten things done, we're not doing a good enough job talking about what we have gotten done. First of all, in the American Recovery Plan, and then in the infrastructure bill. And we've got to do a better job of talking about the kinds of programs we have passed and that are going into our communities. There are a lot more things we need to get done, and we need to figure out how we're going to get them done and stop focusing on two senators that aren't going to go along. So how is it that we're going to get the majority of votes? We need to get some really important programs yet done this year. But I'm tired of everybody saying we haven't gotten anything done. We've gotten a lot done in the last year.
All right. So this is Doug Schoen and Carly Cooperman in a piece called A Year into His Presidency, Biden is Polling at an All-Time Low. And it says this: Biden and congressional Democrats need to dedicate their focus to viable legislation that addresses voters' top issues of concern. The administration has spent too much time wrangling members of their own party without success to pass policies that ultimately alienate key voting groups like Hispanic and Latino voters. And we've seen the drift in support. Only 28% of Latino voters support the president at this point. So when he talks about the need to focus on top issues of concern, and when we poll those, it's the economy, inflation, the border, COVID. Would you like to see this White House more focused on crime? I should point out is also one of the top issues. On those issues, more head on?
Quite frankly, that's what the American people are talking about. I don't disagree with what that article is.
Yeah.
I would argue that we have been doing some things, but, you know, I'm pushing my leadership again today. I've got a plant closed in my district again today for another week because of the chip shortage. We need to pass the chip legislation. The president wants it. The Senate's passed it, which is unusual for the Senate to do anything. We need to get it done in the House. We got to address the supply chain. Any Democrat that doesn't talk about inflation and it's being real is making a mistake. It is real. But there are things we have done and we've got to keep doing to bring that down. If we don't talk about those issues you just talked about, we are going to lose the election. But I think we will, Ken, and you're going to see some things pass Congress that will address them.
You know, when you look at a White House and how it's functioning, you look at the chief of staff, Ron Klain, and they talk about redoing the communication strategy and that the president isn't going to go up to the Hill as much anymore and be so public. He's made 3 trips up there in order to corral support, and 3 times has failed. And that he's going to go more directly to the American people now. A, does he need to change personnel? Do you think he needs, let's tackle that one first. Do you think he needs to change personnel at the White House?
You know, I'm not going to tell the president what to do, especially on cable news, but I do think that the staff has got to all make sure they're working in the same direction. I think that they've got to be, and the president's got to be very clear in what he is asking the Congress to do, which may at times have been not as clear as it needs to be. I think Joe Biden's greatest strength is his people skills, but I think he's got to know when to be tough and when he's got to be tough. And we probably see a need a little more of that as well in leading this agenda, what we got to get done and telling people it's got to get done.
Do you feel confident? And, you know, this isn't an easy question to ask, but it seems to be coming up pretty much everywhere I look on both sides of the aisle. Do you feel confident in the president's ability and stamina to do the job?
Yes, I do. I'm going to tell you, I've known Joe Biden for as long as I knew my husband. That's 40 years. And I frequently talk to him. I know how much he cares. I know how engaged he is. His mind is as sharp as I have ever seen it. I think his strength is also a weakness in that He listens to people. He doesn't push people hard sometimes when he needs to push them. Quite frankly, when it came, he wanted to hear everybody when we were first talking about some of these bills, and his wanting to give everybody a fair shake wasn't being clear in what he needed people to do. He needed to tell us what he wanted us to do, and then we've got a responsibility together to work on it. And I think Joe Biden's got to get tougher on telling us this is what we need to get done this year. I need you to vote with me.
Okay. Debbie Dingell, Congresswoman, thank you. Always good to see you. Thank you for coming on.
Good to see you.
You too.